Welcome back to the Wirex Podcast. Today, we're joined once again by Kane Mayfield, artist, author, and returning guest, to talk about his new sci-fi novel, The Creature from Jekyll Island, Pepe Edition, the truth behind the Federal Reserve and the blockchain that ate it. We're diving into money, myth, and power, asking whether blockchain is breaking history cycle or just repeating it. Welcome back, Kane.
It's my pleasure. This is so much fun. We're having a hoot. I'm gonna put a hat on as to not be underdressed.
Yeah.
I don't look right without a hat on. That's weird.
I know. And so let's dive in, right? Let's start with your new novel. So what sparked the idea to blend The Creature from Jekyll Island with a sci-fi narrative about Bitcoin?
Hubris. Tons of it. Lots of hubris. And a general Wile E. Coyote lack of understanding of how gravity works. If I don't look down, I don't fall. So so here's what happened. The last time we talked was Ides of March. And Ides of March didn't go, I had very lofty expectations. Reality, while if I say the number out loud, even to myself, it's like, what am I complaining about? But I thought we would do way better. I took that really hard. I spent some time in the hospital. I beat myself up. So I was kind of low for a few months after. It took a little bit to get back up off the canvas. And in that, I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to really be around anything. And what helped me for the first time ever that I've ever had to rely on it for feeling good was making memes. I went back to just quietly making memes and sharing them with my friends, like old school Pepe style. And not like I used to do that. That's what they used to do, and I wasn't around for it. And I just decided that was something that I should do, so I did it. And that guy that shot up New York with the AK-47, I turned him into a frog. Yeah. So I was just making memes, just to myself, inappropriate ones, fun ones, nice ones, good ones. I have a few that no one's seen yet. And I made one that was the Creature from Jekyll Island, Pepe Edition. And it was supposed to look like the sci-fi 70s, 80s paperback. My brother used to read them. And I wanted to make it look like a book cover, so it's weathered and there's page edge and a rip sticker, and I just did all this stuff. And I just had it. I had it for about maybe a month. And then the stamps people approached me about doing something. And I'd never done a stamp and counterparty, and there was a whole fork, and I was caught in the middle of it. And I had some bad feelings that weren't necessarily Stamp's fault. They were more just my bad reaction to the circumstances. But like if a guy with a big green suit walks into the nightclub and then 5 minutes later somebody punches me in the face, I just don't like the color green for a look. Because I'm petty, I'm weird, and I'm childish. So, and then stamps people were like, hey, Kane, and shouts to Arwen and HNFT. They were like, hey, you should do a stamp. And I'm like, I did near. It's kind of weird to be like, I did near and I won't do a Bitcoin stamp. So let me do a stamp. And there was a great thing. And I do two. I give them one. That's a one of one. They'll mint the other one for me because stamps are very expensive to make, like $1,000. And they'll give me half the supply. And I said, cool. So I gave them the rifle one. And then I was like, well, give me half the supply for this book one. And obviously, like everything I do, I tell Rad. And Rad goes, man, you gonna give stamps? That one I saw, that's a good one. And I was like, I got other, bro, I've just been making meetings. I got mad stuff here. So I showed him what ended up being the video in the token. And I said, well, look at this. I got this. It's all right. I got lots of stuff. And he goes, oh, this is pretty dope. So this is cool. So we ended up stamping it. That was a Friday. I know what day. It was August 15th, Friday. And I'm in a space, and H and all of us, all the stamps people, and we're talking. And there's this wet burrito joke. And then Logic goes, hey, where's the book? And I said, what book? And he's like, your stamp is a book, right? I was like, oh, no. It's just a picture. He's like, oh, I thought that was a book. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I can write a book. I can write a book. And it's in the description on Amazon too that, I have 15 ideas a day. I don't do any of them. I should go to the gym. I should eat vegan. I should go raw. Hey, I should do a water fast. Maybe I should make pizza for dinner. I have tons of ideas. I don't do most of them. And, the idea of imagination butterfly will sprinkle around my nugget for about 40 minutes until the spider of my doubt and insecurity eats it. It's a simple process. This time, my wife came home early. And I got my son, and I can't go write a book now. I'm watching a 2-year-old. So she comes in. I'm like, hey, oh, awesome. You're home early. Hey, watch this kid. I'm going to go write a book real quick. And she says, you're going to do what? Yeah, I think I'm going to go write a book. And she goes, okay, weirdo. So I go in my office, and it's Friday night. By Sunday morning, about 3 a.m., I have the first 12 chapters. By the next Tuesday, Wednesday, I have 21 chapters. By the following Saturday, Sunday, I have 80% of what's in the book. And then I had to figure out how to make a book. And that was a whole journey that took longer than writing the damn thing. But when I was done, I had this 500 and something page novel. And I'm not sure if it's good. So I hit you. I hit a bunch of my friends like, hey, please read this because I think it's good, but I wrote it. So I'm way too close to this. And then the feedback started coming back from the home team. And it was like, yo, this is really good. So I ran with it.
Yeah, so I guess it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way, right? You know, uh,
Isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. And there's, if there's one thing I know about you is when you're working on something, you really go all out and you're very, very focused. And that's what I admire about you. Why do you think a century-old story about secret bankers on a private island still resonates in the crypto age?
I think it resonates in any age because even today, even outside the crypto space, we're all very concerned about what super rich guys are doing on private islands. And that don't go away. The 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 girls' locker room, what happens at women's sleepovers, slumber parties. What do really rich people do at those banquets where they're just eating sushi off a naked person? You know, all that stuff we think about as El Poros. And then you realize sometimes fact is stranger than fiction. And The Creature from Jekyll Island is a book that I've read. I have a history. I live in financial history. I love financial history. So I've read, Predator's Ball and Liar's Poker and Our Crowd. And there's a lot of books that I've read about just financial. I love financial history. So, there's a book that I read on Bretton Woods negotiations just because I like that stuff. But to take those things and then instead of, hey, the Federal Reserve is not federal, nor is it reserve. Kind of odd creature they got there. And I go, no, 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 no. It's a real money demon in this sci-fi novel. So I kind of spun it off into imagination land and made it something that I think people who would not normally be interested in this topic, that they can kind of lock their mind onto, because the best way to teach people anything is by entertaining them. The best teachers I've ever had were funny and could tell a story and knew how to engage the class with stuff that we could relate to. So what's more relatable than kids rebelling against their parents and, departing from the old ways and the new ways and the family business and our relationship with money and selfishness, and it's all the things that we're currently it's the story as old as time, but
Yeah.
this is just, I think, the modern iteration of it.
Yeah, I do love that, that it's not just for the crypto age, but for all ages, right? Like and it just applies because the story, is it's a yeah, it's a story, the phrase federal blockchain feels almost like an oxymoron, a centralized, decentralized system. I mean,
Mhm.
do you think such a hybrid could ever become a reality?
Yeah, I talk about it in the book. That's exactly why. That's how they would do it. That's why they would do it. I come from that world, so I know how little respect they have for other stuff. It's the parts of the book that I needed the mythology for was where I say the quiet parts out loud, because why would anyone do that? If life ain't Scooby Doo, villains don't tell on themselves. Why would anyone say, hey, do you know how many governments we destabilize? Where we make a fake money. If you had no concept of money and I described the American dollar to you, it sounds bananas. So I take this thing, I make this fake money, this fake thing, and I make as much of it as I want whenever I want. And if I ever run low, I just make some more just for me. But then I'll go insert myself into other people's business and get involved in people's fights and picadillos, only defend the side who has something I want, and then turn around and go, hey, you owe me exorbitant amount of my fake currency that you don't have. Oh, you don't have any of the money that I make up? Cool. Well, you can just pay me in copper. You got lots of copper, right? Yeah, give me that copper. And we'll just call it square. By the way, the juice is running like you owe a mafia. And that's bananas, but that's money. So if you ever took 5 seconds, COVID did a lot. COVID made a lot of people whose worlds were so noisy and chaotic with their own problems and doings and goings and comings and interests and family and it just and silenced everything. And people started reading books they never read before and hearing conversations they never heard before and using their mind in ways that powers that be probably found dangerous and subversive. And their minds are open. And if everyone just stopped for a second and thought about money, I think the same thing would happen. So I can't shut down the government, but what I can do is I can entertain you. I tell you something that I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean that's a really great way of putting it, right? But if the Federal Reserve were built today instead of in 1910, how do you think blockchain would shape that meeting? Or
Give-
it even happen behind closed doors anymore?
Blockchain doesn't pose a threat to people who don't respect the fact that it doesn't have gunpowder. What would happen if BlackRock oh yeah, BlackRock does exist today. BlackRock made their run in the last 20, 30 years. So we've got things that are worse. The Federal Reserve is almost antiquated at this point. They're struggling for relevancy because of the corporate oligarchy. We got people like we have billionaires shit posting on Twitter. So I think the Federal Reserve is fun, and I think that its relationship to the federal government is interesting, but no more or less interesting than Facebook. No more or less interest. I mean, Facebook sways elections. Twitter can sway an election. Like we have many countries that are already decentralized in here. They're just corporations and they're run by people who have their interests and the government responds to them. So the Federal Reserve dabbling in cryptocurrency, money is already mostly digital. Cash is no longer king. In fact, if the power grid goes down, how many people even have money?
Wow.
So yeah,
Yeah.
crypto, the blockchain aspect of it, Bitcoin isn't Bitcoin because it's a Bitcoin. Bitcoin isn't Bitcoin because it's a blockchain. Bitcoin is Bitcoin because it's a real money with an international uh, group of parishioners who believe in this thing. It's a country. Bitcoin at this point is a decentralized country who has spread its citizens all around the world living in different nations. And they move as one. And you can't do nothing about it. So all you can do after you tried to downplay it and outlaw it and dismiss it and regulate the hell out of it, all you can do now is bend the knee and hope to God you can still co-opt it. And they're doing it. Bitcoin just changed the election.
Wow.
Remember? And I'm not going to let Elizabeth Warren get any of your Bitcoins.
Yeah.
Free Ross, day one. What?
Yeah.
So yeah, Bitcoin is Bitcoin because it's powerful. The decentralized aspect of it is inconvenient. And if they really want it, all they got to do is, like, for instance, California passed a law that if you leave your money in an exchange and don't move it for 3 years, they can seize it. So they'll just start acquiring the new money until they have a monopoly of it.
Mm, yeah. And then would you say, like, with Bitcoin, it's also the philosophy behind Bitcoin, right? That brings everyone together. Maybe I'm just being too idealistic.
No, that's you and me both. We're both on that rowboat. But I think that Bitcoin as a cultural mover is a lot less potent than Bitcoin as a greed mechanism and Bitcoin as a dumb money provoker. And, and I know that Bitcoin is real because of the fear around it. And there's so much media that goes into making you not want to buy it. Or even when they'll say, hey, we can't necessarily shun you from buying it because that makes you want to buy it more because we're obviously Big Brother. We'll say, oh, well, the time to buy Bitcoin was 8 years ago. You're going to buy a Bitcoin? A Bitcoin costs this much. You have this much. No one ever says, hey, you don't have to own a whole Bitcoin. You can own some of a Bitcoin. Hey, you don't have to buy it. You don't have to be a whole coiner or get yourself there slowly but surely. Bitcoin represents a true, genuine threat to unsound money. And money has become so unsound that it represents a threat to the people who control unsound money. So I think there's a mega rush to co-opt it. I think that the government's going to itself into cryptocurrency, issuing their own stuff. I think that the days of them trying to ban stuff haven't even come yet. I think we haven't seen Ethereum be illegal until the government says this, and when they have their own horse in the race. So most money is digital. It's an easy pivot to a government cryptocurrency. And I think that but cap supplies. They don't like that. So too much visibility.
So let's play out your thought experiment, right? Like if the Jekyll Island meeting were happening right now, who would be in the room? Do you think coders, bankers?
Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Jamie Dimon, Bank of America, BlackRock. If Leon Black didn't get kicked off Apollo Management, Leon Black would definitely be there. Hedge fund managers, Silicon Valley, billionaires. And we've got quite a few. Probably a tablespoon of international interest, because once upon a time, we're still talking about a group of men who believed in America. It's no longer in vogue or even financially prudent to put all your eggs in this basket. And why would you have 100% exposure to America when you can have the insulation of global exposure? So I think you're going to have a lot of Saudis. I think you're going to have some Chinese. I think you're going to have a few people who already have a vested interest. Whoever Countrywide was selling those mortgages to, oh yeah, they're going to want a seat at that table. So it would happen. It'd be the same outcome.
What do you think the conversation is going to be like? Like, how do you think it will go?
Well, we certainly wouldn't be tying anything to the gold standard. I even made the joke on Twitter the other day, like, yeah, so I made the joke that gold price goes up so high, we might even base our money off of it. Wow. But yeah, the gold standard obviously wouldn't be there. Perhaps they'd peg it off of something else, but the US dollar now versus the US dollar then is two very different conversations. And I think there'd be a lot more blocking than there would be aggressive action. It'd be a lot more defense, a lot more fighting off BRICS, a lot more fighting off the euro, a lot more fighting off whatever currency Russia and China are trying to do. It'd be a lot more defensive measures, because at this point, the war is won. The dollar is the global currency. And even the dinar is strong, sure, but the dinar ain't the dollar. It could be worth more. It could be worth more dollars, but doesn't matter. It's still not the dollar, because the dollar isn't backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. It's backed by gunpowder.
What do you hope for readers to learn about the history of money from your book, beyond the plot itself?
It's a fork. So I hope a couple things for different people. I hope people who are not into Bitcoin or cryptocurrency walk away and say, well, I have a friend that's not in any of this, and he read it and he goes, "Is that what Bitcoin is?" And I was just like, yeah, that's all I wanted. And I was like, yeah, man. And he goes, "You got a minute to talk about Bitcoin?" And I was like, oh, it's like your religious friend and you be like, "Hey, man, I've been really thinking about Jesus lately." And it's like, oh, I want to talk about Jesus so bad, but you don't even know. You've been sinning. So I love that for normies and no coiners to walk away with at least a positive view. I don't think that Bitcoin as a speculation mechanism so much as Bitcoin as a bulletproof vest for inflation. That keeping some of your money in this instead of in a bank or a 401k is probably a hell of a lot better for you than it is, just letting the price of eggs ain't higher. The price of a car ain't higher. The dollar's weaker. And that's the part that I try to explain to people. So for normies is that. For people who are already into Bitcoin and Pepe and, this type of stuff, I hope it reads like softcore pornography. And largely it has. For those people who read it and if they don't, Kane, if they don't do that at least one time, I fail. And I've been trying it as politely as I can because all I want to do is talk about the plot points of the book with anyone who will listen to me. I just want to say, hey, think of this scene or that scene, or what's your favorite scene? And they're like, oh man, when the razor, oh yeah, I love that. When the guy says, or when it's hey, you said this, the difference between having money, owning money. I dug that. Little things like that. I'm a rapper, so there's punchlines. There's punchline. I still want the oohs and the so I try to have a few of those moments. And then for people who are more closely aligned with the beast, I would like to show them that there is a subculture. There is something that's in opposition. It isn't just the Death Star and everyone got to fall in line, and everyone ain't gonna fall in line. So I do want to illustrate that.
I think, and I think you have, right? Because I've read the book, and it kind of leads me to my next question about his history repeating itself. So, if we're at the dawn of a new monetary era, what are the key warning signs we should be watching out for? To avoid repeating history, so to speak.
Stop accepting tickets in exchange for your coat. You don't have a coat. You have a ticket that represents a coat. You're buying ETFs and, whatever, fine. Your comfort zone is your own. It's not my business how decentralized you want to be. But the same way you don't have gold, you have a bond that says the bank owes you gold. Bank don't have gold, you ain't owed shit. And, whoa, this bank is FDIC insured. Oh, cool. What happens when that ain't worth the paper it's printed on? What happens when promises can't be kept? The bank ain't lending you money or holding your money because they're doing you a solid. They're not nice. They're a business. So you give them $1, they loan $1.75 because they go on leverage. So not only do they not have your dollar, they don't have the other guys. The two people gave them $1 and they ain't got $2. They ain't got no one's dollar. They've lent more than they got. So when everyone comes in and says, "Where's my dollar? Where's my dollar? Where's my gold? Where's my Bitcoin? Where's my stuff?" And they go, "Oh yeah, sorry, man. I know you lent me your car, but I was running an Uber service with it." And you go, "Well, where's my car?" "Oh yeah, guy, this guy, he kind of drove it off and he ain't bring it back. And it's got to do with me. I didn't lend him my car. I lent you my car." "Yeah, well, I ain't got it." So you say, "Well, okay, well then give me the value of my car." "Yeah, a lot of people been asking and I just ain't got it." And the government says, "Well, you're a $30,000 car. We're making sure everyone's going to get made whole. Here is $900 because that's how much we got to give everyone who lost a car." And you're saying, "Well, that's not happens to me." How many times does that song got to get sung in your ear before you learn the lyrics? So I think there's that. I think people should go back to owning money. I don't think that money should be this mechanism that we kill ourselves for, because we've gotten very materialistic, less focused on the family, your relationship with a higher power or your own, but something greater than yourself, be it community, family, something. Everyone's just me, mine, now, like Daffy Duck. And that doesn't lead to anything other than parties who make a lot of money off confusion, getting richer, keeping us selfish. Collectivism, not communism, but collectivism is harmful that way. Because when my goat goes missing, my neighbor's stew doesn't smell suspicious if I know I'll be fed. So that's the world that I think we should try to learn from the patterns. And the crowns do a really nice job illustrating that there's nothing new under the sun.
I feel like, we're in a time and space where, we have to do things differently, right? Because, again, like you said, if not, we're just, repeating the same mistakes. So do you think the next financial revolution will come from code or community or crisis?
If history is any indicator, it's going to be a smoothie made of the three. I mean, you don't have the urgency without the crisis. Until people were telling you if you don't put a mask on, you can't get on this airplane. I want proof that you let them stick you with a needle or I
Mm.
won't serve you food. And people said, well, hey, man, I got the right to not have that. And they say, yeah, at your house. You want to come into my business? Show me you let them stick you with the needle. And they said, well, not, no. And that caused people to react viscerally when people said, hey, like even right now, EBT's cut off, SNAP benefits. People want their, whether you agree, disagree, people should or should not be on food stamps. If I am dependent or expecting or have at least planned around a $600-700 check to feed my family, and out of nowhere, through no force of my own, other people have decided that I just can't get it, visceral reaction. And when that happens, sometimes it is any port in the storm. Sometimes it is, well, you know what, man? I normally wouldn't give a fuck. Tell me about Bitcoin. I didn't get into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency out of curiosity alone. I had just lost a baby and I had nothing to lose. So I said, tell me all about Bitcoin. Maybe this is the thing that's going to take me away from how I'm feeling about myself. People look for a drink when they're sad, whether it's alcohol or an idea. And I think that new ideas have the best birth rate during crisis.
Yeah, I really love how you've just broken that down a little bit more. It's almost like the I think it's called triangulation. So finally, what chapter of this evolving story do you think we're living right now? Is it the preface, the
We're
climax?
19. Yeah, we're at 18, 19. We're right around there. 18, 19. We're the chapters are definitely in color.
That's amazing. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that there's a whole prequel that I'm dying to write, full of all the things that happened leading up to it. So for everyone who needs to, I think people should just read the book and please leave reviews on Amazon. I need to hit 20 for the algorithm to trigger or whatever. But yeah, that's I just hope people read it and enjoy it. The fact that it's a token aside, the fact that it's in the blockchain and all that other stuff, I just would like people to read the story and hear the message. And I would love it if this became a quiet orange pilling vehicle for people to ask more questions of smarter people than me.
And I heard there's some AR element to.
Oh yeah. Well, because I called you first. But the book is currently 7 panels. By this weekend or the end of this weekend, it should be about 12 panels that come to life when you scan it with Artivibe, the same way my album, my vinyl record does, and plays the bonus tracks. This plays hidden music from Rare Skrilla, Robness, Bitcoin Audio, me, some other fun people. I have a really good idea for another one that I'm waiting for the music for, but I think this is going to be awesome. So I think that for people who want their kids to read and they're having a hard time pulling tablets out of their hand and saying, hey, read a book. It's what we used to do. And it's like they have 4K and the answer to every question in their pocket. To go to words on a piece of paper is kind of archaic. It's like, unless they're really into vintage. So a book that can come to life and use augmented reality, it's a fun get for parents, I think, to get their kids into it. And the book it's PG to PG-13. It's not even, there's not profanity really. It's a solid, I put 8 and up, and I think maybe I'm being a bit much, but I think that an 8-year-old could read that book and not get any bad idea. A little scary with the Lindbergh baby, but other than that, I think it's a straight shot for content.
That's amazing. And Kane, thanks again for joining us and for challenging how we think about money, myth, and power. Your story reminds us that history doesn't just repeat itself, it reinvents itself. So thank you so much for that.
And it rhymes, and I'm a rapper, so I have prima nocta. on the rhyming part.
Thank you so much. And to everyone listening, what if we're living through our own Jekyll Island moment right now? Stay curious, question the system, and tune in next time.